Kwame's success was as undeniable as a scorching Ghanaian sun. At 28, his tech startup, Adam Solutions, was the talk of Accra. They developed a revolutionary app that connected small-scale farmers directly with market buyers, bypassing the middlemen who had for generations siphoned off their profits. Adam Solutions was a beacon of hope, a symbol of a new, digitally empowered Africa. And at the heart of it all was Kwame, a young man with a sharp mind, an infectious smile, and a secret that was both his greatest asset and his deepest fear: the Juju charm his grandmother Nana Ama had given him. The charm was a simple thing, a small dark wooden carving of an elephant tied with a strip of faded red cloth. It had no special markings, no intricate details. To the casual observer, it was just a souvenir. But Kwame knew better. He kept it in a small velvet pouch tucked deep inside his desk drawer at the office. He never touched it, but its presence was a constant warm hum in the back of his mind. It all started 5 years ago, just after Kwame had graduated from university with a first-class degree in computer science. He had a brilliant idea, a detailed business plan, and absolutely no funding. He had pitched to countless investors, all of whom praised his vision but ultimately deemed the project too risky or not scalable. He was on the verge of giving up, drowning in the frustration of potential unrealized. He went to visit his grandmother in their ancestral village. Nana Ama was a woman of deep faith and tradition. She was a renowned healer and a spiritual guide for the community. When Kwame confided in her about his struggles, she listened patiently, her eyes clouded with age, seeing far more than the surface. She didn't offer a loan or a business contact. Instead, she brought out the small wooden elephant. "This," she said, her voice a soft, dry rustle like old leaves, "is more than just wood. It carries the spirit of my father, your great-grandfather, a man who built a great trading empire from nothing but his will. It is a juju for success. It will not do the work for you, my child. It will simply open the doors. It is a key. The choice to walk through the door is yours." Kwame, a man of science and logic, was skeptical, but he was also desperate. He took the charm, thanked his grandmother, and returned to Accra. The very next day, he received a call from an investor who had previously rejected his pitch. The investor had reconsidered and wanted to meet again. That meeting led to a small seed investment, enough to get Adam Solutions off the ground. From there, the success was meteoric. Every time a major challenge arose, an almost miraculous solution would present itself. When their servers were on the verge of crashing, a young, brilliant network engineer previously unknown to them walked into their office looking for a job. When they needed a key partnership with a major logistics company, the CEO of that company happened to be sitting at the same cafe as Kwame, overhearing his conversation. Kwame's confidence soared. He believed in his own abilities, and he attributed the Juju's influence to a kind of luck, a benevolent cosmic push. He was working harder than ever, his team was brilliant, and the app was genuinely changing lives. He was, by all accounts, a success story in his own right. The first sign that the Juju was more than just a lucky charm came 2 years into the business. Adam Solutions was expanding rapidly, and they needed to hire a new team lead for the development department. Kwame had his eye on a promising candidate named Kojo, a brilliant programmer with a reputation for integrity and a deep passion for social good. But the day before the final interview, Kwame had a vivid, unsettling dream. In the dream, he was standing in his office. Kojo was there, but his face was obscured by shadow. He was holding the wooden elephant. As he held it, the elephant's eyes, previously just carved indentations, began to glow with a malevolent red light. Then, Kojo's face cleared and he was smiling, but it was a cruel, mocking smile. Kwame woke up in a cold sweat. He dismissed the dream as a product of pre-interview anxiety. He was a rational man after all, but when Kojo arrived for the interview, the uneasiness lingered. Kojo was polite, intelligent, and impressive in every way. Yet, every time Kwame looked at him, he felt a flicker of the dread from his dream. He tried to shake it off, to be objective, but he couldn't. He ended up hiring a different, less qualified candidate. The new hire was a disaster. He was lazy, difficult to work with, and within 6 months he had caused significant setbacks for the team. Kwame was forced to let him go, and the company's expansion plans were delayed. He was frustrated and confused. It was the first major setback he had faced since founding Adam Solutions. That night, he found himself staring at the velvet pouch in his desk drawer. He felt an inexplicable compulsion to touch the wooden elephant. He opened the pouch and felt a surge of energy, a strange electric buzz that coursed through his arm. He immediately felt a powerful sense of clarity, a certainty that he had made the right decision about Kojo, that the man was a snake in the grass, a threat to his company. The feeling was so intense, so absolute, that it wiped away all his doubt and regret. The second incident was more disturbing. Adam Solutions had a rival, a well-funded international company called AgriConnect that was attempting to enter the Ghanaian market with a similar app. They were a formidable competitor with deeper pockets and more resources. Kwame was worried. He feared that his small startup couldn't compete with such a Goliath. One afternoon, a key member of the AgriConnect team, a respected data scientist, was in a terrible car accident. The news was all over the media. He survived, but his injuries were severe enough to force him to take an extended leave. His departure caused significant delays in AgriConnect's launch, giving Adam Solutions a crucial window to solidify their market position. Kwame felt a sense of relief, followed by a pang of guilt. It felt wrong to benefit from someone else's misfortune. He tried to shake the feeling, but it persisted. That night, he had another dream. He was standing in the middle of a busy street, and the wooden elephant was growing, becoming a colossal, shadowy beast. Its eyes glowed, and it was stomping on a car, a mangled wreck of metal and glass. He woke up in a cold sweat again. He was terrified. He went to his desk and opened the velvet pouch. The wooden elephant was warm to the touch, humming with an almost sinister energy. He immediately felt a wave of justification wash over him. The car accident was a random event, he told himself. It had nothing to do with him or his juju. It was just a coincidence, a lucky break. He was a rational man. He had to be. But the fear was a persistent, nagging voice in the back of his mind. The juju was not a benign key, it was a hungry spirit. It wasn't just opening doors, it was pushing aside obstacles, and sometimes those obstacles were people. The final and most terrifying incident involved his best friend, Kofi. Kofi was his co-founder, his rock, the man who had believed in Adam Solutions from the very beginning. They had been friends since primary school, a bond forged in shared dreams and late-night study sessions. As the company grew, Kwame, guided by the Juju's influence, began making decisions that were purely business-focused, often at the expense of the company's initial community-driven mission. He started to prioritize profits over people, focusing on high-value cash crops instead of the small-scale subsistence farmers they had initially set out to help. Kofi, ever the idealist, was deeply troubled by this shift. Kwame, he said one afternoon in Kwame's office, we're losing our way. We started this to help the small farmers, to empower our community. Now we're just another corporation chasing the bottom line. Kwame felt a familiar wave of irritation, a low-grade hum of anger that he now recognized as the Juju's influence. Kofi, this is business. We have to be profitable to survive. We can't be a charity. There's a difference between being profitable and selling out. Kofi retorted, his voice filled with a hurt and disappointment that cut Kwame to the quick. Their argument escalated, and Kofi, frustrated and disillusioned, threatened to leave the company. I can't be a part of this anymore, Kwame, he said, his voice cracking. This isn't the company we built. Kwame felt a wave of panic. Losing Kofi would be a devastating blow, not just to the business, but to him personally. But a deeper, darker part of him, the part that was now completely under the Juju spell, saw Kofi as a threat, an obstacle to his continued success. That night he had a dream that was no longer just a dream. He was in his office, and the wooden elephant was no longer in its velvet pouch. It was on his desk, glowing with a fierce red light. It was speaking, not in words, but in a series of powerful, hypnotic feelings. He is a threat. He will bring you down. He will destroy everything you have built. Kwame woke up, gasping for air. He was a rational man, he reminded himself. But the voice, the feeling was so strong. He went to his desk and pulled out the pouch. The wooden elephant was vibrating with an energy he could no longer ignore. He felt an intense certainty, a chilling conviction that Kofi had to be dealt with, that he was a danger to the company. He spent the next few days in a daze, cold and detached. He found himself subtly undermining Kofi's projects, casting doubt on his decisions in meetings, and finally, he went to the board of directors and presented a case for Kofi's removal. The board, seeing only the company's soaring profits and Kwame's seemingly flawless decision-making, agreed. Kofi was ousted. The day Kofi left, his face a mask of betrayal and sadness, Kwame felt a pang of a different kind of pain, a deep and hollow ache in his chest. He had succeeded, but the victory tasted like ash. He had lost his best friend, his moral compass, his anchor to the man he used to be. Kwame's success continued. Adam Solutions became a multinational corporation. He was a celebrated figure, a keynote speaker at conferences, a mentor to young entrepreneurs, but he was also a man haunted by ghosts, the dream of Kojo's malicious smile, the twisted metal of the car accident, the look of betrayal on Kofi's face. They all lingered in the quiet corners of his mind. One evening he was alone in his opulent office, surrounded by awards and accolades, and yet feeling an emptiness so profound it was a physical ache. He opened his desk drawer and took out the velvet pouch. He hadn't touched the wooden elephant in months. The fear of what it would tell him was too great. He opened the pouch, and this time the wooden carving was cold and lifeless. He felt nothing, no harm, no energy, no wave of certainty. It was just a piece of wood. He was confused, and then a new, more terrifying thought began to form. The Juju wasn't a constant source of power, it was a bargain. He had to pay for its assistance, and what was the price? It was his morality, his empathy, his humanity. He remembered Nana Ama's words, "It will not do the work for you, it will simply open the doors. It is a key. The choice to walk through the door is yours." He had made the choices, he had walked through the doors. But the Juju had made the doors. It had presented him with a corrupted path to success, a path paved with the misfortunes of others, the betrayal of friends, and the sacrifice of his own soul. The Juju hadn't just influenced him, it had consumed him. It had shown him a version of success that was hollow, empty, and devoid of the very things that made life worth living. He looked around his magnificent office. He had everything he had ever wanted, everything he had worked for. But he was alone. His friend was gone. His community's trust was eroding as they saw the company's mission change. And he was no longer the man who had started with nothing but a dream to help others. He picked up the wooden elephant, feeling its cold, dead weight in his hand. He walked to the window, opened it, and without a moment of hesitation he threw the carving out into the night. It plummeted to the streets below, a small dark speck swallowed by the city lights. He didn't feel a sudden release, no dramatic sense of freedom. He just felt an immense crushing weight of regret. He had been so successful, and yet he had never failed more spectacularly. The real work wasn't building a company, it was building a life of integrity, of friendship, of purpose. And in his blind pursuit of the former, he had failed at the latter. Kwame knew he had a long road ahead of him. He had to rebuild his life, his relationships, and his company's mission from the ground up, this time without the dark aid of the Juju. The doors would not be opened for him. He would have to build them himself. And for the first time in a very long time, the prospect, while terrifying, felt like the only path to true success.